Hi, this is Sue from the Bedford Free Public Library, and thank you for joining me for Book Bits. Today I'm going to be featuring a favorite author, and that is Louis Sachar. Many of you may know him from his perennially popular series about Wayside School. This is the first book in that series, Sideways Stories from Wayside School. It was actually published over 40 years ago, and it stayed popular probably now through generations of readers. It's a wacky school, not like any probably that you've ever encountered. The builder made a mistake, and instead of building classrooms on the same floor, he built one story on top of another. So each classroom goes up the building, and there are 30 stories to the building. There are also 30 stories, 30 chapters in Sideways School about the different kids who are in Mrs. Jewell's class, and they all have strange and wacky experiences. Louis Sachar really enjoys wordplay and puns and sort of funny, strange goings on. So it's unusual and in some ways nonsensical, but a lot of fun. The second book in the series is called Wayside School is Falling Down, and the third one is Wayside School Gets a Little Stranger. And there's a bit from that one that I wanted to share with you because I think it gives you a good sense of how wacky the book can be. Mr. Kidswatter is the principal, and he makes an announcement because there's confusion in the stairways with people crashing into one another. So he says, when you go down the stairs, stay to your left. When you go up the stairs, stay to your right. When you go down the stairs, stay to your left. That way, there should be no problems. As you can see, I couldn't even say it straight, so maybe if you think about that, you'll see where there is a problem, and that's kind of the sense of humor of the books. What I wanted to share with you today that I'm excited very much about is that there is a fourth book in the series that just came out this year. It's called Wayside School Beneath the Cloud of Doom. It has Mr. Kidswatter and Mrs. Jewell and a lot of the same kids in it. And as in all of the books, it has Louis the yard teacher, who's lots of fun and all of the kids' favorites, and is actually Louis Sachar. So that's sort of fun. He reads these books, and we have both audiobooks and digital audiobooks available, as well as ebooks for all of those. So I hope you'll take a look at the Wayside School books. I also wanted to point out that we have Sideways Arithmetic from Wayside School, as well as more Sideways Arithmetic from Wayside School. And in keeping with the other books, it's not traditional arithmetic, it's not numbers, it's usually words and they're logic puzzles. So there are lots of hints to help you figure it out. It's a little bit complicated, it might tie you up in knots, but it's also kind of fun. So we have those if you are interested. I wanted to mention as well a different series of Louis Sachar's. I would say that Sideways School is real middle grade, third and fourth grade, maybe second grade for reading aloud. Marvin Red Post is younger, I'd say probably first to third grade. It's a shorter chapter book, like a beginning chapter book. And this is the first one in the series. It's called Kidnapped at Birth. Marvin feels like he doesn't fit in with his family in a lot of ways. He certainly doesn't look like them, and he notices that there's a prince missing who looks just like him, so he assumes that he was kidnapped at birth, and he spends the book trying to convince his family of that. So again, funny, sort of wacky, light humor. There are several books in this series. At the moment, we have another one in called Magic Crystal I thought I'd show you. And in this one, Marvin makes friends with a girl who has this magic crystal, which allows you to make wishes that come true, and all kinds of strange hijinks ensue from that. So that's the series of Marvin Red Post. And then I also really wanted to make sure to feature Holes, which is a book many of you may know. This is Louis Sachar's Newbery Medal winning book. He won the medal in 1999 for this book. And it's really a wonderful story about the poor, unfortunate Stanley Yelnats, whose whole family seems to live under a curse. They all have terrible bad luck. And he is mistakenly convicted of a crime he didn't even commit and sent to Camp Green Lake, which is not a camp, and there is no lake. In fact, it's out in the desert. And as punishment, all the boys who are sent there have to dig holes. You can see the holes here in their shovels. Each day they go out and dig a hole. It's very punishing. So there's that story. And then at the same time, there's a story about Green Lake, the town, from 100 years prior when there actually was a lake. And you learn about the inhabitants of the town And the beauty of this book is actually that there are connections between the people who lived there 100 years ago and the people in Stanley's time. And Sachar does a wonderful job of weaving those connections and all the pieces together. Or perhaps he might say, filling in all the holes. So I would definitely say take a look at Holes if you have not. That's also available in audiobook and digital ebook and digital audiobook. It's also available as a movie, and we have the movie as well. It's a great movie. So I would encourage that. And finally, I wanted to feature one last book of his. He does have other tales, but we're going to have to cut things short. The last book is Fuzzy Mud. And this is more of a middle school story. I'd say Holes is 4th, 5th, 6th. Fuzzy Mud takes place in a private kind of she middle school, and the main characters in it, Tamaya, and Marshall, are sort of misfits. And at the beginning, they are bullied by this other boy and chased out into the middle of nowhere. And they encounter this fuzzy mud, which leaves a strange rash on their skin. And at that point, the book shifts from being a typical sort of realistic fiction story about a bully to having a science fiction element. And they're trying to figure out what's happening with this mud, and is it contagious, and what will happen to the rest of the community. And there are interspersed chapters of Senate hearings where you have the transcripts of scientists who are talking about what organisms they were creating that ended up in the mud, and how they ended up there, and who's responsible, and what will happen. And so there's some interesting tie-in to kind of current events today. It's fast-paced and an exciting story, and definitely there's a lot of food for thought. It is also on the 6th grade summer reading list, so this is Fuzzy Mud. You can request any or all of these titles by going to the library's website and searching the catalog. You'll find our web address in the description of the video that's included below. And please feel free to contact us if you have any questions or if you are looking for any further recommendations. We are always happy to help. Thanks for listening.